Midjourney, the AI startup famous for turning text prompts into impossibly beautiful images, just announced something nobody saw coming. They're building ultrasound scanners, real ones, working prototypes that scan actual human patients. The company showed behind-the-scenes footage of the device in action, operating in clinics and hospitals. But here's what should alarm you: they did this without FDA approval. They didn't wait for regulatory clearance or announce clinical trials. They skipped the entire approval pathway and showed a working medical device to the world. Medical device companies typically spend 5 to 10 years navigating regulatory approval before they are legally allowed to sell to hospitals. Midjourney's done it in months. In the AI image generation space, speed is celebrated: move fast, experiment boldly, learn quickly. That works when mistakes just produce weird AI-generated faces. But ultrasound scanners peer inside human bodies during pregnancy checks and emergency scans. They guide surgeons. They detect cancer and spot heart problems. When medical devices make mistakes, people get hurt. So the obvious question becomes, why is an image generation company moving into critical healthcare, and more importantly, should they be allowed to? Here's what the headlines are missing entirely. To understand why this moment matters, you need to know where Midjourney came from. 4 years ago, the startup didn't exist. Then David Holz launched it as a pure image generation tool. You type a description, the AI renders it. Within a year, Midjourney became the gold standard. Artists loved it. Designers used it. Marketing teams adopted it. The startup raised funding, hit profitability faster than almost any AI company, and built a community of millions. Midjourney became profitable while OpenAI and Google and Microsoft were still burning billions. That success gave the company credibility. The founders clearly understood AI, understood user experience, understood how to ship products fast. But here's the thing: image generation and medical imaging are completely different problems. Image generation is creative. You type something wild and get back something beautiful. If it's not perfect, that's fine. Creativity embraces weird and imperfect. Medical imaging is different. There's no room for interpretation. A lesion either exists or it doesn't. A valve either functions or it fails. Medical imaging is about precision and accuracy and absolute reliability. Midjourney's never worked in that space before. They're walking into a field with massive regulatory hurdles, where the bar for accuracy is infinitely higher than it is for art. That's where things get complicated. Let's look at what Midjourney actually showed in that behind-the-scenes video. The device itself looks like a typical portable ultrasound scanner, handheld, connected to a tablet or computer, running what appears to be proprietary software. The footage shows radiologists and sonographers using it to scan patients. Real ultrasound imaging happening in real time, just like a standard ultrasound machine would produce. Some reports suggest the scanner is powered by AI models that interpret the raw ultrasound data differently than traditional machines. That's potentially significant. Traditional ultrasound relies on a combination of sound wave physics and operator skill. The sonographer moves the probe, adjusts angles, reads images. Midjourney's approach might involve AI image analysis running on top of the scan data, detecting patterns and highlighting abnormalities, maybe even offering diagnostic suggestions, which sounds great in theory. An AI that spots tumors faster, catches things humans miss, automates parts of the diagnostic process. But that's also where the unknown territory begins. We don't actually know the accuracy rates. We don't have peer-reviewed studies. We don't have data comparing Midjourney's scanner to conventional ultrasound across thousands of patients. We have a demo video. That's all. And that's creating some serious questions about whether this technology is actually ready for clinical use. So what does the device actually do in practice? Based on the video, it performs obstetric ultrasounds, the kind pregnant people get to see their baby and check fetal development. It also appears to scan for other medical applications, though details are sparse in the footage. The video shows typical obstetric images: the baby in utero, the heartbeat patterns, the precise measurements doctors take to track development. Which is where this gets really interesting. Obstetric ultrasound is one of the most standardized and vetted medical procedures in existence. There are international guidelines. There are training certifications. There are measurements that don't vary. Every qualified sonographer worldwide knows exactly what a normal pregnancy ultrasound should show. which means if Midjourney's scanner is going to work for this application, it has to produce results that match that gold standard perfectly. No shortcuts, no creative interpretation, no margin for error whatsoever. But here's the thing we don't know. Has Midjourney tested this against those standards? Have they run thousands of scans and compared the outputs to conventional ultrasound across diverse populations? Have independent radiologists reviewed the results? We have one company's demo video, but we don't have independent verification. And in medical imaging, verification is absolutely everything. Without it, you're just hoping the technology works the way it's supposed to. Let's compare Midjourney's approach to how other companies have entered medical imaging. When Samsung moved into ultrasound imaging, they didn't skip regulatory processes. They developed the technology, partnered with hospitals, conducted clinical studies, submitted data to regulators, waited for approval. Same story with GE Healthcare, with Philips, with every other established medical device maker. That process is long and expensive and frustrating, sometimes taking a decade or more. But it exists because medical imaging directly impacts patient outcomes. Get the diagnosis right, and the patient gets the right treatment. Get it wrong, and people suffer consequences. That regulatory pathway ensures quality and protects vulnerable patients from unproven technology. Now contrast that with Midjourney's approach. Show working prototypes publicly first. Figure out the regulatory details later. That's how you launch a social media app. That's how you ship a new version of design software. That's not how you introduce a medical device that will be used to make critical clinical decisions about human health and safety. Other AI companies entering healthcare, like startups building diagnostic tools, have mostly worked within the regulatory framework. They partner with hospitals, conduct trials, publish results in medical journals. Midjourney's strategy appears to be completely different, which suggests either incredible confidence in their technology or a concerning lack of respect for how medical devices should actually be developed. The regulatory implications here are genuinely massive. The FDA's already struggling to keep up with medical AI. There are hundreds of AI-powered diagnostic tools in development, and the regulatory framework keeps getting more complex and harder to navigate. When Midjourney released that video, they essentially said, "We're building medical devices on our own timeline, following our own process, not waiting for permission." That creates a serious challenge for regulators. Do they crack down and demand Midjourney stop everything? Do they engage with the company and work toward approval? Do they let it slide and hope nothing goes wrong? The answer isn't obvious, and that's the problem. Midjourney's probably betting they can get regulatory approval eventually. The technology will either be safe enough to license, or it won't be. But here's what concerns health experts most. If Midjourney can release a medical device prototype without regulatory approval, what does that mean for the next startup? What precedent are we setting? If a company with proven engineering excellence and deep resources can move this fast in healthcare, doesn't that invite others to do the same? And what if the next company isn't as careful? What if their technology isn't as sound? Medical device regulation exists because patients got hurt with unproven devices in the past. Midjourney's approach risks reopening that door to unnecessary harm. Actually, let me clarify what needs to happen next for this technology to become legitimate and trustworthy. The path forward is clear, even if nobody's officially discussing it yet. First, Midjourney needs to conduct rigorous clinical trials comparing their ultrasound scanner to conventional machines across diverse patient populations. We are talking thousands of scans, rigorous statistical analysis, independent medical oversight. Second, they need to publish those results in peer-reviewed medical journals so the medical community can evaluate the claims independently. Third, they need to submit all this data to the FDA and work through the regulatory approval process. The timeline for that isn't months, it's years, multiple years. The process isn't fun or fast, it's filled with paperwork and scrutiny and endless requests for more data. But it's the only way to build genuine trust in medical technology. And honestly, Midjourney's probably capable of doing this. The company has resources and engineering talent and credibility. They could be a legitimate player in medical imaging if they commit to following the process. The question is whether they will. And the answer determines whether this is the beginning of something revolutionary or the moment when a brilliant image generation company stumbled into healthcare and created a regulatory nightmare. That's the stakes we are talking about here. So here's what this moment actually means for AI's future. Midjourney's medical ultrasound scanner is a symbol of something bigger. AI is moving into domains where being right isn't optional anymore. It's critical. Image generation is amazing but forgiving. You can iterate endlessly. Medical imaging demands precision from day one, no exceptions. That's a fundamental change in how AI gets deployed. Midjourney showed a working prototype without waiting for permission. They might get approval eventually, or they might face pushback that forces them to slow down. Either way, they've opened a conversation that healthcare regulators weren't expecting to have this early, and they've set a precedent that other companies are watching closely. Will other startups see this and think they can move fast in medical AI too? Will regulators need to come down harder to prevent a cascade of similar moves? The bigger story here is that AI is mature enough now that it's being used for applications where mistakes matter profoundly. Medical diagnosis, financial regulation, criminal justice. These aren't domains where creativity and iteration and fast failure are virtues anymore. They're domains where you have to get it right the first time. Midjourney's behind-the-scenes video was fascinating and impressive. But the real story isn't whether their scanner works technically. It's whether they respect the fundamental responsibility that comes with medical technology. We won't know the answer until they submit to the rigorous process that protects patients. Follow for daily AI news.